Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Strategy Talks. CEO, CMO, CFO, COO, but have you ever heard of a CPO? Today, we're going to talk to probably world's first Chief Philosophy Officer. So stay tuned for Strategy Talks. I'll be right back.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Here's your host, Dorien Morin-van.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Strategy Talks. I'm so glad you're here. If you're watching live, put in the comments where you're watching us from and where you see this live stream. Maybe you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, since we're multicasting. Want to welcome those who might watch this on the replay. Welcome to you. And if you're listening to Strategy Talks as a podcast, welcome as well. Without much further ado, I'm going to introduce you to another guest, my 104th guest, I believe. Anil is here with us from Curacao. Now, in the little intro video, you saw that we have guests from all around the world. This season alone, have had guests from the Netherlands, the UK, the US, Suriname. I've had guests in Trinidad, and today Anil's joining us from Curacao. How are you today, Anil?
I'm fine. Thank you so much, Doreen, for having this call from this Sunday morning from the beautiful island Curacao. And so it's good to have this call. We just set up. I'm doing all by phone, so there is also no studio. This natural light and surround sound maybe, but let's go for it.
Yeah, I think it goes with the topic. So we're going to dive into philosophy in just a minute. But you and I were chatting earlier this week, and we were talking about your name. Now, for those of you watching, you can see that his name right now on the screen just says Anil. And I have you on WhatsApp as Anil van Maretraite. That's how you call it. Yeah. And that's because you could explain that name to us. Why are you called that? Why are you called that name? Oh, we seem to have some technical difficulties. Anil just lost his connection. Let's see if he comes right back. It seems like he's still here, but maybe he's not. We might have to redo this episode if he is not able to come back. I'll give it another minute or so. See if he's letting me know on WhatsApp what's going on. The tech in different parts of the world. There you are. What happened, Anil?
I had put my alarm for a call, and the alarm went off, and then the screen.
All right. So
we love it.
I love it. Okay. So I asked you about your name. So in WhatsApp, you're on my WhatsApp name and this is what you put in there, Anil van Maretraite. What does that mean? And what is your real name and what's in a name?
Yes. So what's in the name? Some of us heard about this before in another context, probably Shakespeare, but that's not about it. Where does the name come from? Of course, your parents give you your name when you get born. By the way, today I'm celebrating my twin sister's birthday. So
your twin sister's birthday?
Well, I have twin sisters, and it's their birthday today.
Okay.
So, on this 14th. But yeah, so your name you get basically from your parents, right? But talking about how did I get my name is a story where we have to go a little bit back in time, and where we have to go a little bit in Suriname, where you also have been, where we met actually for the social media conference. So as you've been in Suriname, you know there are certain neighborhoods, right? So Maretraite is a neighborhood where I basically grew up. Um, and the name I took basically when we had internet, you had to have like an email address. This is like a long time ago. So I was thinking, what is an address, right? So normally an address would be like a street name and a number, right? But back in the days, it was still early. I thought, I'm not going to just take a street. I'm going to just take the whole neighborhood. So Anil van Maretraite was like the digital name, you could say, you know, on the internet. And that's how it started. But it's actually with my name, I just want to say it's not about my name necessarily, but it's also where I'm from. So it's like you're giving a little bit more information with your name. So what's in the name? Yeah, your name gives you information about uh, actually who you are, right, and where you're from, and it's actually the question I had yesterday. I had a conversation with a friend of mine. She said uh, when she was doing her studies, she also posed the question: what if you change your name? What does it mean for you as a person? So you could,
Yeah,
and some people have,
there's a lot of
and
thought
some people
for
have two names, and if you, some people have two last names even. So, yeah, where do you
yeah,
want to start and where do you want to end with
yeah,
this? But it's a good
yeah.
one. I think everybody should also maybe ask themselves, where does my name come from, and what does it mean, and was it something that, and how does that, yeah, make you
Yeah.
you basically.
Yeah, no, and I totally get that. So my name, if you're looking on screen, Dorien Morin-van Dam. I was born in the Netherlands, so I used to be Dorien van Dam. Now I'm Dorien Morin-van Dam because in the Netherlands we put our maiden name behind our married name, which in the United States we do it differently. So in the US I would be Dorien van Dam Morin.
Okay.
And then in order to be verified on some of these social media platforms, I'm now back to Dorien Morin, which is my married name. But what's in a name? Anybody who knows anything about the Netherlands will see my name and know instantly I'm Dutch. So that's kind of where that is from. So absolutely. Let's talk about chief philosophy officer. What does it mean? Why have you given yourself that title? How do you help people? And I eventually, if you're watching this, stay tuned because we're going to dive into AI ethics and all that stuff. That's where I think some of this conversation's going. But how does this get started, Anil?
Yeah, that's also what's in the name. Basically, what's in the title. Once upon a time, when I was working in the let's say in the office in the corporate world, last corporate job was at Gartner. Don't want to name drop, but sometimes you have to do it just to give people a reference. So they are the gorilla in the IT industry. And back in the days, when I was working there, we had analysts, and the analysts would kind of look at the world and kind of predict where we're heading. Through the impact of technology, I have to say.
Sure.
Um, so during that time, but actually before that, I was working for another research company, Boston-based, Forrester Research, and there were also the analysts who were looking at the intersection of technology and marketing, basically technology and business. So I was thinking that's all interesting, but at the same time, I was also through during all these conversations that I had with different people, I also realized that everybody from business, when they have like a business challenge, they look at the issue from their own angle, which is normal because they are hired to do that, right? If you're a marketing person like the CMO, you're looking at the world from a marketing perspective. You're paid to do that, right? So to speak. But at the same time, I was realizing that if you want to have like complex challenges, entering new markets, or there is a new technology coming, impacting everything, um, you have to have like a multidisciplinary approach, right? We would say. So you would have to look at the challenge from different angles. And that's when I thought about the chief philosophy officer. That's like the profile of a person in the C, in the board level, on board level, in the C suite that can have these conversations. So it's not, uh, so we can kind of get the bigger picture. So what are we doing and why are we doing it? Rather than I'm from marketing, I'm doing my stuff, I'm from finance, I'm doing finance. So just to get the synergy and just to be able to kind of deal with the complex questions or crisis that companies are facing. That's how I
Right.
came up with the chief philosophy officer, basically, in
That
concept level.
makes a lot of sense. So yeah, right now there's a lot of companies struggling, right, to align their values with their day-to-day operations. Is that something that you help with?
Yeah, so values is is the best place to start, actually. But the problem with values is, well, problem. I shouldn't use those words. We use the word challenge. The challenge is with that you have to define what value is, and value is something you cannot touch. So what is it then? You have to, then you come to the culture of the company, stuff like that, strategy of the company, people that are running the company, but basically the why of the company. Philosophy is about asking the why question. So not only the how, that's what we do in physics, for instance, or in art sciences. How does something, how does it work? How does computer work? I always love that one. How does the brain work? But why does it work the way it works? I think it's a more interesting question that can lead to, you know, clearer guidance, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the concrete answers, because that's what people are waiting for most of the time. When you
Yeah.
have like a challenge, you want to break it down, you want to analyze it, and then you want to come to a number. Especially when you're in finance, or
Yeah.
you want to get results, you want to get to a number. But sometimes you don't get a specific answer, but you get the insights to take the right decision.
Right. So there's companies out there, and if you're watching and if you're a business owner or CEO and you value sustainability, you value, saving resources, digital footprint, you're worried about the world around you, and you haven't really put that. You have those concerns, but you haven't really put that into like a value system, or you're not able to get that message across to the people that work for you. Somebody like Anil, you could help, right? You could put that into a structure and a strategy for them how to work on that. Is that am I seeing it right?
Yeah, so absolutely. So it is. So philosophy is, of course, the mother of all sciences. So, and the chief philosophy officer has a lot of pretensions, you could say, or ambitions. But it's that's nice. We take the big, hairy, audacious goal, as they say, as I learned from the biggies, from the corporates. And I think that's a great philosophy. For instance, to tackle any problem. So when you want to apply that into business, for instance, let's take the AI. You know, you mentioned it before in the introduction. We'll talk about it. Um, what is it actually, and how does this technology impact our business? But I would say not only our business, but also the idea that we have about humanity itself, about what it is to be a human, right? Because if the AI, as it's being said, as as we can read it everywhere, as being said to us, is that it will surpass human intelligence, right? The artificial intelligence will surpass human intelligence. Ray Kurzweil, for instance, one of the guys that is really into this field, talks about the singularity. That's the point where you know. Where basically a computer from 1,000 US dollars will be able to do, everything that a human brain can. So that obviously will have an impact on the business. That's for other people to talk about maybe. But what I find more interesting is what does this mean for us as a human being? What does it mean for the image of us, of ourselves, of our species and our place in that? Is that evolving? You know, or is there like a core that is constant? How do we define ourselves actually? And if we define ourselves, then we can also define better, I think, what the objective of the strategy to get the objectives of the organization would be, if we put it in a
All
business
right.
term.
So what I'm hearing you say is if you're leading a company, if you're in a leadership position, um, thinking about philosophy and figuring out your why on a personal level precedes the taken it to the business level. So you really want to figure that out on your personal level first, and then you take that into your business. Is that correct?
Well, I think leadership is also personal leadership always.
Mm-hmm.
It's like put on your own oxygen mask first. When you're in a plane, they give you these instructions. Those instructions are there, but you can think about it why it is like a
Sure.
real good instruction. Because if you cannot, if you don't know, your own, being basically your own position, which is a challenge, by the way. I'm not saying that
Yes.
it's easier. It's good to talk about it, but it's a challenge basically. But I think, and most of the time we don't talk about it because when we talk about corporate, we have like the values, like the common values. But in philosophy, we have this idea of know thyself. So this idea of the self is not necessarily about the individual. It's about what it is to be a human or a person, better in the context of AI or an agent, you could say, in the context of work. But I think that will reflect, uh, the way you deal with, let's say, the, the issues, the challenges that you have as an organization, navigating through change, basically.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about the next thing that I have, a next question. So success traditionally is measured by profit, right? Do you see a role for philosophy in redefining success metrics
Yeah,
to
actually,
encompass a broader societal and environmental well-being?
actually, that's a very interesting one. I wouldn't be the first who would define success in other terms than profit. Actually, there's another, let's say, that's a famous philosopher,
Okay.
Alain de Botton. I don't know if I pronounce his name correct, but I like his work. I like the ideas that he brings forward. Uh, and also, what I like is that he also says success, yes, but make sure that it is defined on your own terms. So you
Mm.
define your success. That sounds like maybe, yeah, what do you mean by that? But I think the point that he's making, and I get that, is that of course you can go. If as a company you have to be profitable because that's the definition of a company to be profitable. It's not a non-profit, right? So what's in the name there? It's very clear. What it's but I think there is more than profit, and everybody knows that. Uh, so this comes back to the values. So what do you value, and and how do you incorporate that basically uh, in your strategy, in your actions, in your in your practice, in your business practice, basically,
Yeah.
um, to yeah to kind of live that basically.
Right. So if somebody is listening to this or watching this and they're like, okay, this is all theoretical, but I really want to make a difference in the world. I need to start working on this. I need to define my values. I need to define my leadership. I have these ideas, these concept of what I think it should look like. Is there a framework? Is there a personal philosophy structure? How does that work? I mean, I'm curious, right? I certainly have thoughts about, you know being shaped by where I'm from and where I currently live and what I see of the world, and being a mother, right? All these different, being a parent, all these different pieces together um make me have certain ideas and thoughts about what my values are. So how do I start putting that together into a framework that I then take into business?
Yeah, that's a good one because a framework is like it's a tool, right? Um, but actually, sometimes the framework can be the problem. So just to put it straight out there, because it's
Sure.
already like a template, it's like a recipe, but there is no. Maybe you should start with an open page, right? When you have a challenge.
Yeah.
So creativity works like that. It's not like you have a structure for creativity. You cannot say today I'm going to be creative. I think something like that. So you're in the process of doing something. Let's say in the work context. Let's stay there. And let me give you for sure some practical
Yes.
ideas.
Yes, let's
Because
do that.
I know people think that with philosophy, it's like fluffy. It's not. But I learned, I come from the software world a little bit also. Software is also something you cannot touch, but it's impacting your life, right? We
Right?
are using technology, software technology, a little bit of hardware also to have this conversation. So we're getting closer to each other from a communication point of view, thanks to the technology. So but the idea about it, about what the technology can do, started with an idea. So that's, let's say, where the philosophy starts. It starts with the idea,
An idea.
something that you
Okay.
cannot touch, but that is real, kind of. So so just to give you an idea, to make it practical. Once upon a time, I also heard that I was working then as a consultant, let's say independent consultant, and I heard a rumor in the grapevine, as I say, about Suriname, that they would go from analog to digital TV. So that's like a piece of information. You could do something with it or not. You could see it on the news or not. But I thought, wow, that is very interesting because that means Suriname is going to make a shift. Right? It's like the paradigm shift with digital transformation, right?
From
For
analog to digital. From analog to
analog to
digital.
digital, yes, but for television. So not just because this I have to say also it's getting a little bit complicated maybe, but I don't want to make it too complicated. But we say in our industry that video is not data. So we're now having also a video, a live call, right? So of course it's all data, but video is not data. Somehow it works like that. So when you look at the underlying principles, anyhow. So when I heard that Suriname is going from analog to digital, I thought that's something I'm going to go for. So the practical thing that I did when I heard got the information is like, okay, so what is this information that I got? How solid is the information? So talking about the framework, right? So I'm going to kind of qualify the information very practical. Like, is it a rumor? How tangible is the information? How real is it? And what is and also if the answer is yes, what is the timeline? Oops, that was the wind.
It is super windy. Yeah.
Yes, we are on an
We
island,
can see
so
that. Yeah.
we have the wind here. I didn't take any precautions here. Cool.
Okay.
So so you want to look on the timeline, right? So in strategy we have this also. Like if you have a project, you have to look at, what's the idea behind the project? What do we want to achieve with the project? What is the timeline? What is also the budget, for instance, to make this happen? So basically, you make your analysis about how real is this opportunity and and how urgent actually is this
Okay.
opportunity to capture, basically the time to market, right? The window of opportunity, as we would say. So basically, how do you get that information? You start to do interviews. So that's what I did. I did my market research, started to conduct interviews with people that knew about that industry, the telecom industry, and the television world, basically, because they were kind of merging at that time. Now it's like normal because everybody knows we're streaming. This is like before Netflix was like mainstream, right?
Sure.
So that is like when the market is changing, but also the way people are going to consume television is going to change. The way they are going to pay for it is going to change. Maybe they're not going to pay for it anymore. So you have to have like a new revenue model, talking about profit, if you are in that industry. So long story short, so I could I took the information that there's going to be a change, like a digital transformation. Let's put it this way, and then you have to come up with a plan, right? So the plan is like you gather the information, you have the timeline, you have also the budget. So basically, the numbers, the numbers in play. So you have like, oh, wow, really strong.
We are live
Yeah, I didn't
from
count on this.
Curacao, just in case.
Yeah. So what you also have to do, and that's where it boils down to the people in the industry. So you have, and this is also where actually the philosophy comes into play. It's like when the information is out there, all the rational information, you know that the surname is going to go from analog to digital. They're going to be there's going to be a tender. There's going to be more on submitting their solution. So how do you make sure that your efforts, that your physical effort is gonna win in the end? Put it this way.
But
How do
here's
you
the
gonna?
thing, you can't really make sure, right? You're planning, but you can't be sure.
Well, you have to start with the end in mind. So you know that, for instance, that there's going to be a switch, and there's going to be a switch date. So that's like what we call like the compelling event, right? So, or a deadline, you could say, but it's like the compelling event, and so you have to see, and then once you know that, and you know what you need to do to get there, basically. So you break down everything into steps to get there. But that's, of course, you don't know for sure. Let's say, if
Right.
in the case of this, it was a tender. So you do the technical part, you work with the technical department, with everybody that can add value, basically, to answer what the client wants. In this case, it's not just the client, it's like the whole country going.
Right.
But ultimately, it boils down to a solution. And the solution in this case was a set of technologies, a set of certain people with specialization, certain knowledge, and to implement all that and then to go live, basically, right?
Right.
Let's say that's more from the technical point of view. But how do you get there? That's like the process where you have, like I said, where you have to have the idea right about what you want to achieve. But also you have to compete because you're competing with other people that also want to achieve the same.
The same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you make the difference? Of course, I'm not going to be able to give a general answer, but in my case, when I was faced with something like that, I was thinking as a philosopher in that sense, but also as a also using the knowledge that I already had from previous experiences, best practices from all the previous jobs that you have. It all boils down to certain moments, right? When you have, for instance, if you really want to win a project or win a deal. But I think what makes a difference is that I really, really analyzed also the issue that the client had. Because, for instance, a little bit to go technical, if you want to go, for instance, for digital TV, you need to have like broadband, right? You need to have like better internet, so to speak. So, and at that time, I knew that the client, in this case, he had a lot of like legacy. The legacy in this industry is like copper, you know, no fiber, just copper. Or the wireless, but I'm talking about if you want to have like broadband or internet in a
Yeah.
sense, it is still wired. Let's say. So they were facing that, and I was thinking, what they want to achieve, what I know, but what not everybody thinks about. For instance, the technical people, to dive a little bit into it, they they look at the tender, they look at the questions of the tender, the technical questions, and they answer the question. But they didn't ask probably themselves. It's not, but that's okay because that's their role. But they didn't ask if it would work in the local environment. They just
Right.
local solution, you would say. But I because I had like done my research, so to speak, and I had asked myself many questions. Also, like how would this work here if there's just copper and there's no fiber? How are you going to make the shift from analog to digital TV? How are you going to with what the client wants? If we do that, just what they want on paper, it's not going to work. So we
It's
might
not going to work.
answer it, we might win the deal, but it's not going to work. It's not going to go live, so to speak. If you
Right.
press the button
Right.
with TV, with video, it works like that, right? If there's an interruption, it's gone. It's the experience
Okay.
is gone.
All right,
So
Anil, we're almost at time. So
yes, yes.
I have one more question for you before
Yeah.
we go.
So, but just to finalize on that, so I
Yeah.
realized that, and that was like the out of the box thinking that happens when you apply
Yeah.
philosophy, is that I realized that the only way that it would work, what the clients want, the challenge that they have, and for us to win the deal, is to make that unique value proposition, as we say in marketing, right? So the differentiator, the real difference, and that is and that you that's what we did actually, we used all that knowledge to give the right solution to the client. The solution was in that case hybrid, because I realized also that when you want to make a change, a big change, it's very it's almost impossible. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's almost impossible to do it radically, like a transformation, to leave
Right.
this way of working, this set of technology, and to go drastically, to a complete new. I mean,
Right.
for most people, that's like impossible. That's the change
Yeah.
management. But yeah, it happens with certain transformations. But in general, in organizations, let's say that are there for a longer period, and that they are facing a new challenge, they sometimes, they will take like 6 months to come up with a transition plan. But sometimes,
Right. So it's a hybrid
but
plan.
sometimes it hits you like while you are making your plans, right? So
Right.
culture eats strategy for breakfast, for instance. That's
Yeah.
another.
All right. We're at time. So Anil, you only have your name there. How can people find you and connect with you? Because you are a very interesting person. I love talking to you about things that I don't even think about. I'm in business, but strategy, philosophy, all these things. If they're like, I want to get to know Anil, where are you most active on social media and how can they find you?
Well, the best way is to find me on LinkedIn. So
Okay.
I'm sure you will help me with that. With the link, I have, what is it, LinkedIn Chief Philosophy Officer, something like that. I
Okay.
also
I'll get the link for everybody.
chiefphilosophyofficer.com, but that's just more like it's not about that. Again, it's what's in the
Okay.
name. It's about the idea behind the idea. But yes, thank you. So yeah, you can find me there. And of
Yeah,
course,
I'll make sure.
we didn't touch everything that we could touch. We didn't go
We
into
didn't. We might have to do a redo, or maybe we'll collaborate on an article or something. But I've been fascinated by your work and meeting you and talking with you. And we had definitely had some technical difficulties with the sound, but super interesting. And I think it's worth continuing the conversation at some point, Anil. I appreciate you being with me this morning, and those who were here live. I saw a couple people pop up here and there. Sorry for the sound, but the topic was super, super interesting. I will make sure you can all connect with Anil. I'll put a link so that you can find him on LinkedIn. And Anil, appreciate you. Will I see you in Suriname in October?
Yes. So thank you again. And Doreen, what's in the name? In your name? What's in your company's name? And if you have to start a company, for instance, think about the name. Maybe you want to think about it also.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, all of you, for watching and listening. If you got through all the way to the end, appreciate you. And I'll be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. Bye, everybody.
Ciao.